Is it worth to go on Fiverr Pro, or it's better to just sell your gigs as a normal seller? So I wanted just to talk a little bit about my story, how I became Fiverr Pro, and eventually what is the difference between Fiverr Pro and just a regular seller, and is it like better Fiverr Pro or is the same? So I became a Fiverr Pro seller I would say 2 years ago, and first it was into video production category. So I was creating videos, creating them, traveling to different locations, editing the videos, right? So it was my first try to become a pro seller. So of course I got denied a few times. I've been working my portfolio, and eventually I got the Fiverr Pro status after 5 or 6 times applying. So it's been, honestly, for video production, I didn't really notice that much of traction, or yes, I've been getting some messages, even some orders as well, but it wasn't something that been like wow effect, right? So of course it takes time, and I believe on Fiverr still it's very hard to sell services for like $3,000, $5,000 or more. So it's just gonna take more time. When you're selling services for like $100 and plus, right, it's eventually gonna be, first of all, you're more likely to get reviews and people purchasing straight away from your gig, rather than just they message you and you have these long discussions before they make an order. And then eventually those gigs with like a $100 plus range, they will eventually be promoted more in the search, because you're going to have some volume, you're going to have reviews as well more often and things like that. So right now I can say that me being as a Fiverr Pro definitely has some benefits, where eventually I do see some positive effects even in the search, because when you are able to, let's say, perform well, get good reviews, eventually you have like 2 ways where people can find you in search. They can find you in the regular search, right? When they go for like, let's say, if we scroll down, we go to like social media marketing, for example, let's say best selling, right? So they might be able to find you straight away here, right? So in my case, I have my Instagram gig, I have my TikTok gig here as well. I have another Instagram, but it's usually on and off, right? But of course, you know, you have a good chances to appear. And even like this gig, which I have, Instagram gig, it doesn't really have a lot of reviews. You know, it's just kind of like just came there. Actually, I don't know for what reason, but it's there, right? So, and you can also see, let's see if there's any other pro sellers as well. So let's just double check here. Okay, we have another one here. We have Fiverr Choice here, right? So okay, not a lot of them, right? But the biggest advantage is that when you click on the Fiverr Pro, that's where people can go to directly as well. You are able to be in this search as well, which is of course powerful. It's only 1-page search, right? They just kind of like expand this, and it's only 1 page, which gives you extra traffic, extra boost, right? And of course, when you're Fiverr Pro, you're more eligible to like work with Fiverr Business and, you know, clients like that who are ready to spend more. So that's a good advantage. The biggest concern about Fiverr Pro is that if you offer a service, for example, my service is Instagram growth, but then there is also other sellers who are doing the similar services, right? And it's not my service, I would say the method is the same, because like when I do the follow and follow service on Instagram, like I could, you know, I can work with the limits of Instagram, the same the other seller could do. There's someone could be offering this maybe cheaper and he could be doing the same. So you have to understand that when you're a pro, you have to really have a top level experience for the buyer. So you need to have a really good customer support. You need to be able to reply very quickly. You need to be able to give them more than maybe what they're just paying for. You need to add more value. So because the pro is something that they also expect you to do much better. They expect you to be on top of that much better than any other sellers, because that's what Fiverr says. It's like 1% of the freelancers, right? So you have to be performing extremely well. So this could be very challenging if your service is kind of like limited. So if you can only, like, let's say in my case, I can just work with the current limits, and the other seller who is not pro is able to do the same thing, right? So of course I have to always come up with some, you know, let's say give client suggestions, be fast, be polite. Of course, you have to be always nice and always kind of like helpful, and also have to go extra mile all the time. I try to always give more and always provide more value, so like the customer could be happy, because obviously they have certain criteria which you have to be as a pro. The other downside for becoming being a pro is that you can only sell services with at least $100, right? So you can't really go below $100. That's what they have as a policy, and this could be damaging, because let's say if you're offering service like hashtag research, if you're offering service like influencer marketing, right, things like that, you can't really go below that $100, because maybe your service, your first package is like, let's say $20, like an entry package, but then the other packages could be more. So that's another kind of like downside of being a pro if you have a services which you want, because I have several gigs which are hashtag research, influencer research, and I can't really offer them because it's too expensive to pay $100 for that. Otherwise, I have to maybe do like some consultations, other things. So it's not very scalable for me, right? So you have to be very careful with that. And then, of course, if you're doing like website design, things like that, yes, I mean $100 is maybe it's not a lot, and it's just like many sellers have much more than that, right? When they're starting the package, as you can see here, like $400, $500, $650, $390, right? So it's not an issue for them, right? But in our case, when you go to like digital marketing, social media marketing, you can see like mine is $100 here, $140, $100. So like pretty much most of the sellers there are starting at that entry barrier, right? And they can go below that. And for Fiverr, it's still when you're charging like $100 or more, it's considered to be like a high payment as well. Like you have to provide a lot of information, you have to be able to give them value and provide them really something, because Fiverr has been a $5 thing, right? Before, so people used to be paying $5. Now they're paying $100, right? So the expectations are more. So when you're applying for pro, just be careful of that. Just keep in mind about that, because obviously, you have to, if you want to go pro, you have to always remember as well that your past gigs which you have, they cannot be just kind of like switched to pro. You have to create a new gig, and you cannot sell the same gigs as a pro and non-pro. So like, let's say in my case, I had to pause all my main gigs which had like over 4,000 reviews on them, and I just had to start a new gig, and I can't really unpause them, because if you go in, let's say in my case, I'm in the social media marketing space, right? So I can only have I cannot have pro and non-pro gigs in that category. It's only has to be pro gigs, right? But if I open up gigs, let's say in the graphic design, of course I can have non-pro gigs there, right? And I'm also not approved as a pro in that category. So just be careful, because this is a really big step. This could be rewarding, but this has a lot of responsibilities, and eventually you have to be, yes, it might sound like very in a way of attractive, that okay, you can become pro, you'll be making 10 times more. In reality, it's not like that, right? So you might be making more, you have more reputation might be better and more privilege, but it's not going to be making it's not like non-pro sellers are making way more than pro sellers, right? So you have to understand that. And it depends about the service. So there's a lot of these things which I discussed, the minimum price that you can offer, and then having non-pro, pro. So you have to always be thinking about that. So, but if you want to become pro, I suggest to just work on case studies, have maybe a website where you put all the clients' portfolio and things like that, because when you're gonna send application, you can just send your website, which will be nicely organized by the clients you worked, highly reputable clients, let's say big companies, big brands, and you can just put their order portfolio. So like this, when you share it with a Fiverr representative, they can go to that website and they can see all the information there, and it's gonna be easier for them to make a decision. And of course, they look at the social profile. You have to have some good presence on those social medias. You have to have also maybe some publications about your work, maybe a strong LinkedIn profile, which could be a great asset as well. So you have to work on your personal brand as well. This is very important. Please guys, let me know if you've been a Fiverr Pro, if you have been non-Fiverr Pro, if you have tried to apply as a Fiverr Pro, how your experience has been so far. This is an interesting topic because my journey right now, it just goes as a pro seller. I don't have any gigs as a non-pro in digital marketing. I only have in the graphics design, which is creating NFT. But again, I cannot become a pro in NFT yet because I don't have a lot of portfolio. So it's going to take some time to build up the portfolio, and then eventually you can apply for another category. So thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on the pro versus non-pro, and I'll see you in the next video.